About 1.5 million years ago, long before modern civilization, an early human ancestor called Homo Habilis lived in a harsh and dangerous environment. Food was often difficult to find, large predators were a constant threat, and survival depended on making the right choices every day. Even without advanced tools or technology, these early humans stayed alive for thousands of generations. They used simple stone tools, learned from experience, and worked together in small groups. But how did they survive in such difficult conditions when so many other species disappeared? Homo habilis lived in Africa between about 2,400,000 years ago and 1,400,000 years ago. During this long period, the environment changed many times. Some areas were covered with grasslands, while others had trees, rivers, lakes, and open woodlands. Rainfall changed from one season to another, and animals moved across the land in search of food and water. Homo habilis had to learn how to survive in these changing conditions. The first fossils of Homo habilis were discovered in eastern Africa during the early 1960s. The discovery took place at Oldowan Gorge in present-day Tanzania. This area became one of the most important places for learning about early human history, because it preserved the remains of many ancient animals and human relatives. The fossils were found by a team led by the famous researchers Louis Leakey, Mary Leakey, and their son Jonathan Leakey. Their work changed the way scientists understood the early members of the human family. Before these discoveries, many researchers believed that larger brains and more advanced bodies appeared before regular tool-making. The fossils from Oldowan Gorge suggested something different. They showed a species with a brain larger than earlier human relatives, but still much smaller than modern humans. They also found simple stone tools in the same layers of ground where Homo habilis fossils were discovered. This led many scientists to connect Homo habilis with the earliest known stone tool culture, called the Oldowan tradition. The Oldowan tools were simple but useful. Early tool makers selected hard stones that could be struck together. One stone acted like a hammer, while another became the tool itself. After several careful hits, sharp edges formed along the stone. These sharp pieces could cut meat, slice plants, break animal bones, or scrape skin from animal hides. Other broken stone pieces could also be used for different tasks. Even though these tools may look rough today, they required planning, careful hand movements, and an understanding of how stone breaks. The ability to create these tools helped Homo habilis reach food that might otherwise have been difficult to eat. Sharp stones could remove meat from animal bones after large predators finished feeding. Bones could also be broken open to reach the rich marrow inside. Marrow contains fat and nutrients that are important for survival. Using tools allowed Homo habilis to make better use of food sources found in the environment. Scientists call Homo habilis one of the earliest members of the genus Homo. The word Homo refers to the group that includes modern humans, along with several extinct human relatives. Earlier human relatives belonged to different groups, including Australopithecus. Homo habilis showed a mix of older and newer features, making it an important link in understanding how human evolution happened over long periods. The body of Homo habilis looked different from the bodies of people living today. Adults were much shorter than modern humans. Their arms were relatively long while their legs were shorter. Their bodies were built for walking on two legs, but they still had some features that suggest climbing trees remained part of daily life. Strong arms and curved fingers may have helped them hold branches while climbing. Walking on two legs had already appeared before Homo habilis evolved. Earlier human relatives had developed this way of moving over millions of years. Homo habilis continued this pattern. Walking upright allowed them to carry food, tools, or young children while moving across the landscape. It also helped them travel longer distances while searching for food and water. The face of Homo habilis was different from that of earlier human relatives. The face was somewhat smaller and less heavy. The teeth were generally smaller than those of many earlier species. These changes may have reflected differences in diet and food preparation. Since tools could cut food into smaller pieces, very large teeth may not have been as necessary as before. The brain of Homo habilis was larger than that of Australopithecus, but still much smaller than the average modern human brain. A larger brain does not automatically mean greater intelligence in the same way we understand it today. However, it does suggest changes in thinking, learning, memory, and problem-solving abilities. Scientists believe these changes may have supported better tool use, improved searching for food, and stronger cooperation within groups. Researchers continue to study fossil skulls to understand how the brains of Homo habilis developed. The shape of the skull provides clues about brain size and growth. Although soft brain tissue does not survive in fossils, the inside of fossil skulls sometimes preserves enough information for scientists to estimate the brain's overall shape and size. Homo habilis probably lived in small groups. Living together offered several advantages. Group members could watch for danger, care for children, share food, and help one another while searching for resources. Working together increased the chances of survival, especially in environments where food was not always easy to find. Communication was likely important in these groups. Scientists do not know exactly how Homo habilis communicated, because spoken language does not leave fossils behind. They may have used simple sounds, facial expressions, hand movements, and body language. These forms of communication could help group members warn each other about danger, guide one another toward food, or cooperate during daily activities. Food played a central role in the lives of Homo habilis. Their diet was varied because the environment offered different resources during different seasons. They probably ate fruits, leaves, seeds, roots, insects, eggs, and other plant materials. They also ate meat whenever they could obtain it. Some meat may have come from hunting very small animals, while some likely came from animal remains left behind by larger predators. Finding enough food required careful observation of the environment. Homo habilis needed to know where fruit trees grew, where animals gathered, and where water could be found. These places changed over time as the weather changed. Remembering useful locations and returning to them at the right season could improve the chances of finding food. Water sources attracted many kinds of animals. Rivers and lakes provided drinking water for herbivores, predators, birds, and early humans. These areas offered opportunities to collect food, but they also increased the risk of meeting dangerous animals. Crocodiles, large cats, and other predators lived near many water sources. Homo habilis had to remain alert while visiting these places. Scientists study fossil animal bones to learn more about the daily lives of Homo habilis. Marks left by stone tools can sometimes be seen on ancient bones. These cut marks show that sharp stone tools were used to remove meat or skin. Other marks made by animal teeth help researchers understand whether early humans reached an animal before or after large predators. Many discoveries suggest that Homo habilis often collected meat after predators had already eaten. Even after a large animal had been partly eaten, useful food remained. Meat attached to bones and marrow inside bones provided valuable nutrients. Stone tools made it possible to reach these resources more effectively than using hands or teeth alone. Homo habilis probably spent much of each day moving across the landscape. Food sources were spread over wide areas, making travel necessary. Walking from one place to another required energy, planning, and awareness of changing weather. Small groups likely rested during the hottest parts of the day and became active again when temperatures became cooler. Children learned by watching older members of the group. Skills such as finding food, choosing useful stones, making tools, and avoiding danger were probably passed from one generation to the next through observation and practice. This ability to share knowledge became an important part of human development. Toolmaking itself involved several steps. First, suitable stones had to be found. Not every rock breaks in a useful way. Early toolmakers selected stones with properties that allowed sharp edges to form when struck correctly. They then chose another hard stone to use as a hammer. Careful blows removed flakes from the main stone until a cutting edge appeared. Broken flakes were often just as useful as the larger stone core. A small sharp flake could slice meat, cut plants, or scrape materials. Nothing needed to be wasted if it could still perform a useful task. This practical approach helped Homo habilis make the most of available resources. Scientists have found Oldowan tools at many archaeological sites across Africa. These discoveries suggest that simple stone tool making spread across different groups living in different places. Although each group may have had slight differences in technique, the basic method remained similar for many generations. The discovery of Homo habilis raised many questions that researchers continue to study today. Some scientists believe Homo habilis represents a single species, while others argue that fossils placed under this name may actually belong to more than one closely related species. Fossils often vary in size and shape, making classification difficult. New discoveries sometimes change earlier ideas. Human evolution is not a straight line with one species changing neatly into another. Different human relatives often lived at the same time in different places. Homo habilis shared Africa with several other ancient human relatives during parts of its existence. This makes the history of human evolution more detailed than once believed. Scientists compare fossil bones very carefully. Small differences in the shape of the skull, teeth, jaw, hands, arms, legs, and feet help researchers decide whether fossils belong to the same species or different ones. Modern technology, including detailed scanning and computer analysis, allows scientists to study fossils without damaging them. One important feature of Homo habilis is the structure of the hands. The fingers and thumb show signs that they could hold objects with greater control than many earlier human relatives. This improved grip may have made tool-making easier and more effective. Even simple tasks, such as holding a sharp stone, require careful control of hand movements. The shoulder and arm bones also provide information about daily activities. Their structure suggests that climbing remained important, while walking on two legs was the main form of movement on the ground. This combination allowed Homo habilis to use different parts of the environment depending on their needs. Sleeping arrangements remain uncertain because no direct evidence survives. Some researchers think Homo habilis may have slept in trees for safety from predators. Others suggest they rested on the ground in places that offered protection. Without direct evidence, scientists continue to study clues from living primates, fossil sites, and environmental conditions. The climate during the time of Homo habilis was not always stable. Periods of wetter weather could increase plant growth, while drier periods reduced available food and water. Animals responded by changing where they lived and moved. Homo habilis also had to adjust their daily activities to match these environmental changes. Their ability to adapt became one of their greatest strengths. Rather than depending on only one food source, they used many different resources. Their ability to adapt became one of their greatest strengths. Rather than depending on only one food source, they used many different resources depending on what was available. This flexible way of living increased their chances of surviving during changing conditions. Predators remained a constant danger. Large cats, crocodiles, hyenas, and other meat-eating animals shared the same landscapes. Homo habilis lacked the sharp claws, powerful jaws, or great speed possessed by many predators. Instead, awareness, cooperation, simple tools, and careful movement likely became their main forms of protection. Scientists continue discovering new fossils that improve our understanding of Homo habilis. Every new fossil provides another piece of evidence about body shape, growth, movement, diet, and behavior. Even a single tooth or bone fragment can provide valuable information when studied alongside other discoveries. Modern dating methods allow researchers to estimate the age of fossils and stone tools with increasing accuracy. Layers of volcanic ash found above or below fossil sites can often be dated using scientific techniques. This helps build a clearer timeline showing when Homo habilis lived and how long the species survived. Museums around the world display casts and original fossils of Homo habilis, so visitors can learn about early human history. These displays allow people to see the size of the skull, the shape of the hands, and the simple stone tools that played such an important role in daily life. Students, researchers, and visitors continue examining these discoveries because they reveal how small changes accumulated over long periods. Each fossil helps answer some questions while also creating new ones. Scientific understanding continues to grow as new evidence becomes available. The story of Homo habilis is closely connected to the beginning of many abilities that later became more advanced in other human species. Careful hands, growing brains, regular tool use, flexible diets, and cooperation within groups all appeared in forms that scientists continue to study today. When scientists describe Homo habilis as the handy man, they are not suggesting that this early human built houses or created complex machines. The name recognizes the importance of making and using simple stone tools in daily life. These tools represented practical solutions to everyday problems, helping early humans obtain food, prepare materials, and make better use of the resources around them. Although many details remain uncertain, Homo habilis holds a special place in the study of human origins because the fossils reveal a combination of traits that connect earlier human relatives with later members of the genus Homo. Their bodies, hands, brains, and tools provide valuable evidence about how early humans lived, learned new skills, shared knowledge, and adapted to changing environments across ancient Africa. Life in Africa about 1.5 million years ago was very different from the world we know today. The land looked different in many places. The weather changed often over long periods. Rivers moved across the land, lakes grew larger and then became smaller, and wide grasslands stretched across huge areas. Forests stood in some places while open land covered many others. Hills, valleys, rocky places and flat plains all formed part of the environment where early human relatives lived. Every day was shaped by the natural world. Food, water, shelter and safety depended on what the land could provide at that moment. At that time, Africa was home to many different kinds of living things. Some areas received more rain, while others stayed dry for long periods. These changes affected plants, animals, and the early members of the human family. Among these early humans was Homo habilis. This species lived in a world that demanded constant attention. Every day brought new chances to find food and new dangers that had to be avoided. Life depended on noticing small changes in the land, the weather, and the movement of animals. The climate was not the same throughout the year. Wet seasons brought rain that filled rivers and lakes. Plants grew quickly during these times. Trees became covered with fresh leaves, grass spread across the ground. Many animals gathered where water was easy to find. The wet season often meant that food became easier to collect, because fruits, roots, seeds, and other plant foods became more common. Small animals also became easier to find because they searched for fresh plants and water. Dry seasons created very different conditions. Rain became rare, and many small streams disappeared. Some lakes became much smaller than before. Grass turned dry in many places. Some trees dropped their leaves to survive with less water. Animals had to travel farther in search of water and food. Early humans had to move as well because staying in one place could mean hunger. The changing seasons forced people to learn where food could still be found even when the land became dry. The land itself was made up of many different environments. There were open grasslands where tall grasses covered the ground. There were areas filled with bushes and small trees. Thick forests stood near rivers and lakes. Rocky hills offered places where early humans could watch the land around them. Valleys carried water during rainy times. Large lakes attracted many kinds of animals. Every kind of landscape offered different chances for finding food and different dangers that needed attention. The grasslands supported many large animals. Different kinds of plant-eating mammals spent much of their lives moving across these open areas. Some traveled in large groups. Others stayed in smaller family groups. Their movement changed with the seasons because they followed fresh grass and dependable water. Early humans learned to watch these movements. Seeing where animals gathered often helped them find water and other useful resources. Trees remained important, even though many areas became more open over time. Trees produced fruits, leaves, flowers, nuts, and seeds that could be eaten when they were available. Some trees also gave shade during the hottest parts of the day. Their branches provided safer places away from many ground predators. Even if Homo habilis spent much of the day on the ground, trees still remained useful parts of daily life. Tree roots also helped keep soil together. Near rivers and streams, bushes and smaller plants filled the spaces between forests and open grasslands. Many edible plants grew in these places. Some produced berries during certain seasons. Others had roots hidden beneath the ground. Digging for roots required effort, but they could provide valuable food when fruits were difficult to find. Learning which plants were safe to eat became an important part of survival. Knowledge passed from one generation to another helped families avoid dangerous plants and remember where useful ones grew. Large lakes covered parts of eastern Africa during different periods. Their size changed over time because rainfall was not always the same. Lakes attracted birds, fish, reptiles, and many mammals. Animals often visited these places every day to drink. Early humans also depended on these water sources. Fresh water was necessary for life. Places near lakes became busy with many kinds of animals, creating both opportunities and dangers. Rivers connected many parts of the landscape. Some flowed throughout the year, while others carried water mainly during rainy seasons. Riverbanks often supported thick plant growth because water remained nearby. These places attracted insects, birds, monkeys, and larger animals. Homo habilis could gather food near rivers, but these places also required caution, because dangerous animals often waited close to the water. The weather was sometimes cooler than people might expect. Although Africa is often linked with heat, temperatures varied depending on location, season, height above sea level, and changing climate over long periods. Nights could become cool, especially in open areas. Early humans had to deal with changing temperatures as well as changing rainfall. They adapted by using the resources around them instead of trying to change the environment. Wind also shaped daily life. Strong winds could carry dust across dry areas. Dust covered plants, rocks, and the ground. During rainy times, wind helped spread seeds from one place to another. It also affected how animals moved across the landscape. Every part of nature worked together to shape the lives of early humans. Many different animals lived beside Homo habilis. Some were peaceful plant eaters, while others hunted other animals. Elephants walked across parts of Africa, much as they do today, although some ancient kinds looked different from living elephants. Their large size allowed them to knock down trees while searching for food. This changed the landscape by opening spaces where new plants could grow. Ancient relatives of zebras grazed across grasslands. Their sharp senses helped them notice danger quickly. Groups remained alert because predators often watched them. Antelope of many kinds also lived in these environments. They moved quickly across open land and often traveled in groups. Their constant movement reflected the search for fresh grass and safe places to live. Ancient relatives of giraffes reached leaves high in the trees. Their long necks allowed them to feed on branches that other animals could not easily reach. Their presence showed that many areas still supported enough trees for browsing animals. Large buffalo relatives lived in some regions. Their strength helped protect them from many predators, especially when they stayed together. Hippopotamuses spent much of their time in rivers and lakes. Crocodiles waited quietly near water, creating danger for any animal that came too close. Early humans had to be careful every time they approached rivers or lakes, because attacks could happen without warning. Many kinds of monkeys and other primates lived in forests and wooded areas. They fed on fruits, leaves, insects, and other foods found in trees. Their calls sometimes warned other animals that predators were nearby. Early humans may have learned to pay attention to these warning sounds because they often signaled danger. Birds filled the skies and trees. Some searched for insects, others hunted fish. Large birds of prey watched from above, looking for small animals on the ground. Smaller birds spread seeds that helped plants grow in new places. Their songs and calls became part of the daily sounds of the environment. Snakes lived in forests, grasslands, rocky places, and near water. Some were harmless while others carried venom that could be deadly. Early humans needed sharp observation skills to avoid stepping too close to dangerous snakes hidden in grass or under rocks. Insects were found almost everywhere. Ants built large nests. Termites created tall mounds in some regions. Bees gathered nectar from flowers. Butterflies moved between flowering plants. Mosquitoes lived near standing water. Although insects were small, they played important roles in the environment. Some pollinated plants while others became food for birds, reptiles, and mammals. Predators created constant danger. Large cats hunted many kinds of animals across the grasslands. Ancient lions, leopards, and saber-toothed cats searched for prey using patience and speed. Spotted hyenas also lived in Africa. They could hunt their own food and also feed on the remains left by other predators. Packs of wild dogs worked together while chasing prey over long distances. For Homo habilis, these predators represented serious threats. Early humans were smaller and weaker than many hunting animals. They could not rely on great strength or sharp teeth for protection. Instead, they depended on awareness, group living, careful movement, and simple tools. Watching the behavior of animals often helped them avoid danger before it became too great. The sounds of the environment carried important information. Alarm calls from birds could warn of predators. Sudden silence among animals sometimes signaled danger. The movement of large herds could reveal the location of water. Wind moving through grass could hide the sound of approaching animals. Listening carefully became an important survival skill. The smell of the environment also carried useful information. Fresh rain had its own scent. Animals left smells behind as they moved. Dead animals could be located by smell before they came into view. Predators often gathered where carcasses were found. Early humans had to judge whether approaching such places was worth the risk. Food came from many sources. Fruits were important when trees produced them. Berries added variety during certain seasons. Nuts and seeds provided energy. Leaves from some plants could be eaten safely. Flowers, roots, and underground tubers also formed part of the diet. Different foods became available at different times of the year. Insects sometimes became food as well. Termites and other insects contained nutrients that could support survival when larger foods were difficult to obtain. Eggs from birds offered another source of nourishment when they could be found safely. Meat also became part of the diet. Early humans may have collected meat from animals already killed by predators. Stone tools allowed them to cut meat from bones more effectively than using their hands alone. Bones sometimes contained marrow inside, providing rich food that could be reached by breaking the bones with stones. Finding meat required careful judgment. Predators often stayed close to their kills. Returning too early could lead to deadly attacks. Waiting too long could leave little food behind, because scavengers quickly removed what remained. Timing became an important part of survival. Stone played an important role in everyday life. Rocks suitable for making tools were valuable resources. Early humans searched for stones that could be shaped into sharp cutting edges. These tools helped cut meat, break bones, prepare plants, and perform many other daily tasks. The ability to make and use tools helped Homo Habilis survive in changing environments. Different kinds of stone were found in different places. Some were easier to shape than others. Early humans learned through experience which rocks produced the sharpest edges. This knowledge likely spread through observation and learning within family groups. Walking across the landscape required planning. Some areas offered food but little water. Others contained water but many dangerous predators. Families probably moved often instead of remaining in one place throughout the year. Their movement followed changing seasons and available resources. Children grew up by watching older members of their groups. They learned where to search for food, how to recognize danger, and how to use simple tools. Learning happened every day through repeated experience. Skills improved slowly as children became adults. Family groups probably worked together while searching for food. Staying close offered greater safety than traveling alone. More eyes could watch for predators. More people could search different parts of the landscape. Sharing information increased the chances of survival. Communication likely included sounds, facial expressions, hand movements, and body language. Even without modern language, early humans needed ways to warn each other about danger, call others to food sources, and keep groups together while moving across the land. Rest also formed part of daily life. After searching for food and traveling long distances, people needed places where they could relax with lower risk. Safe resting places may have included rocky areas, places with good views of the surroundings, or locations protected by natural features. Rain changed the appearance of the land very quickly. Dry ground became soft. Small streams formed where none had existed before. Fresh plants appeared within days. Animals adjusted their movements as new food became available. Early humans watched these changes closely because they affected every part of daily survival. Long periods without enough rain created greater challenges. Some plants disappeared, animals moved away. Water became harder to find. Groups needed to travel farther in search of resources. Knowledge of the landscape became especially valuable during these difficult times. Volcanic activity affected parts of eastern Africa during long periods of the past. Volcanoes shaped the land by creating hills, valleys, and layers of ash. Over many years, these natural events changed the environment. Ash sometimes preserved footprints and other signs of ancient life that scientists study today. Earth movements slowly changed the shape of the land over very long periods. Valleys formed as the ground shifted. Rivers changed direction. Lakes appeared and disappeared. These natural processes continued throughout the lives of countless generations of animals and early humans. Plants responded to changing climate. During wetter periods, forests spread farther across the land. During drier periods, grasslands expanded. These shifts affected every animal because food sources changed with the environment. Homo habilis adapted by remaining flexible and using many different kinds of food instead of depending on only one source. The daily search for water remained one of the most important activities. Clean water supported life for people, animals, and plants. Waterholes became gathering places where many species met. These locations offered chances to find food, but also increased the risk of meeting dangerous predators. Young animals were born during seasons when food became more plentiful. This helped improve their chances of survival. Early humans probably noticed these seasonal patterns because they affected hunting, scavenging, and food gathering opportunities. Fire caused by lightning sometimes spread across grasslands during dry periods. These natural fires cleared old grass and allowed fresh plants to grow later when rain returned. Animals often returned to these new growth areas. Early humans observed these natural events even before people learned to control fire. The sky above Africa looked much the same as it does today. The sun rose each morning and set each evening. The moon changed shape through its regular cycle. Stars filled the night sky when clouds did not cover them. These natural patterns marked the passing of time, even though early humans did not measure time using written calendars. Every season required different choices. During wet months, some foods became plentiful, while others became less important. During dry months, people relied on different resources. Flexibility helped groups continue living despite changing conditions. Disease and injury also formed part of life. Cuts from sharp stones, bites from animals, infections and broken bones could all threaten survival. Without modern medicine, recovery depended on the body's natural healing ability, support from family members, and good fortune. Old age was less common than it is today because life brought many dangers. Even so, older individuals who survived likely carried valuable knowledge about the land, food sources, seasonal changes, animal behavior, and tool making. Their experience could help younger members avoid mistakes. Many animals competed for the same resources. Plant eaters searched for fresh grass. Predators searched for prey. Birds competed for nesting places. Insects searched for flowers and plants. Every living thing depended on the changing environment around it. Seeds carried by wind, water, birds, and mammals allowed new plants to grow in different places. This constant growth helped replace older plants and supported the many animals that depended on vegetation for food. daylight-shaped activity. Many animals searched for food during the morning and evening when temperatures were lower. Others remained active at night. Early humans needed to understand these daily patterns because knowing when predators hunted could reduce danger. Rocky shelters offered protection from strong sun, rain, and wind. These places may also have served as temporary resting areas while groups traveled through the landscape. They provided good views that allowed people to watch for approaching animals. Every path across the land held signs that could be understood through careful observation. Footprints showed which animals had recently passed. Broken branches suggested movement through wooded areas. Fresh droppings revealed that animals remained nearby. Early humans who learned to notice these details gained useful information that supported daily survival. The world of Homo habilis demanded attention every day. Food sources changed with the seasons. Water appeared and disappeared. Animals constantly moved across the landscape. Dangerous predators watched from hidden places. Plants grew, produced seeds, and then faded with changing weather. Rivers flowed, lakes expanded and shrank, and grasslands changed their appearance as rain came and went. Every part of the African environment influenced how Homo habilis lived, travelled, searched for food, avoided danger, cared for family members, learned new skills, and adapted to the natural world that surrounded them. Homo habilis was one of the earliest known members of the human family. Scientists have spent many years studying the bones they left behind to understand how they looked, how they moved, and how they lived. Every skull, tooth, hand bone, foot bone, and arm bone gives new information about their appearance. Even though many fossils are not complete, researchers have been able to build a detailed picture by studying many different discoveries from different places in Africa. These discoveries show that Homo habilis had a body that shared some features with older human ancestors, while also showing new features that later became common in other human species. The body of Homo habilis was not very large. Most adults were much smaller than the average person today. Their height depended on whether they were male or female, their age, the food they found during life, and natural differences between individuals. Many scientists believe that adult males often reached a height of about 5 feet, while many females were shorter. Their weight was also much lower than that of many modern people. Most adults probably weighed between about 70 and 100 pounds. Their bodies were built for an active life that required walking long distances, climbing trees when needed, gathering food, carrying useful objects, and escaping dangerous animals. The bones of Homo habilis suggest that their muscles were strong. They did not have large bodies, but they needed strength, because daily life required constant movement. They searched for food over wide areas, carried stones for making tools, broke open animal bones, dug for roots, picked fruits, collected plants, and sometimes climbed trees. Every day demanded physical effort from morning until night. The shape of the body shows that Homo habilis stood upright. Walking on 2 legs had already become normal before Homo habilis appeared. Their hips, legs, knees, and feet all show features connected with upright walking. This allowed them to move across open land while keeping their hands free to carry food, tools, or young children. Their way of walking may not have been exactly like that of modern people, but they were clearly adapted for life on 2 feet. Their legs were becoming better suited for walking than those of much earlier ancestors. Walking helped them travel between food sources, water, and safe resting places. Moving on 2 legs also helped them look over tall grass to watch for animals that could become either prey or danger. It reduced the amount of direct sunlight falling on much of the body during the hottest part of the day and made long-distance movement easier. Although Homo habilis walked upright, many scientists believe they still spent some time climbing trees. Their arms remained fairly long, and some parts of the upper body still showed features that were useful for climbing. Trees offered safety during the night, protection from large predators, resting places, fruits, leaves, and other foods. Young children may also have stayed in trees while adults searched nearby for food. The shoulders of Homo habilis had features that allowed a wide range of movement. Flexible shoulders helped them climb, reach for fruits, carry objects, and use tools. Their upper arms were strong enough for many different kinds of work. Every part of the body had to serve several purposes, because survival depended on making the best use of available resources. One of the most important parts of the Homo habilis body was the head. Their skull was different from that of earlier ancestors. Although it was still much smaller than the skull of modern humans, it held a larger brain than many older members of the human family. This increase in brain size is one reason why Homo habilis received so much attention from scientists. The brain of Homo habilis was usually between about 510 and about 700 cubic centimeters in size. This was larger than the brains of many earlier ancestors, but still much smaller than the average modern human brain. Even though it was smaller than ours, the increase showed that important changes were taking place during human evolution. A larger brain supported better memory, improved learning, more careful planning, and greater ability to solve problems. Scientists believed that the brain of Homo habilis was developing in ways that supported tool-making and more flexible behavior. They may have remembered where food could be found during different seasons. They probably recognized dangerous places and safe paths. They may have remembered the locations of water sources even after many days had passed. Memory became very important for survival in changing environments. The front part of the brain may also have become more active in planning actions. Instead of acting only in response to immediate events, Homo habilis may have been able to think ahead in simple ways. For example, they could collect suitable stones before reaching an area where food would be prepared. They could carry sharp flakes to places where animal remains might be found. Such actions suggest that they could connect present activities with future needs. The skull of Homo habilis had a rounded shape compared with many earlier ancestors. It was not as tall and rounded as the skull of modern humans, but it showed steady changes. The forehead remained low and sloped backward. Unlike modern people, they did not have a high forehead rising above the eyes. This feature became more noticeable only in much later human species. Above the eyes, Homo habilis had brow ridges. These ridges were thicker than those of modern humans, but generally lighter than those seen in some later human relatives. Brow ridges are areas of thicker bone above the eye sockets. They were a normal part of the skull during much of early human evolution. The face of Homo habilis was smaller than that of many earlier ancestors. Earlier human ancestors often had faces that projected farther forward. Homo habilis still had a face that extended outward, but the amount of projection had been reduced. This made the face look somewhat flatter than that of older species. The nose projected slightly from the face. Although the exact shape cannot always be known because soft tissues do not survive as fossils, the bones suggest that the nose was becoming more noticeable than in very early ancestors. The nose helped warm and moisten air before it reached the lungs. This was useful in dry environments as well as cooler conditions during certain times of the year. The eyes of Homo habilis cannot be fully reconstructed because soft tissue does not survive, but the eye sockets show that they faced forward. Forward-facing eyes provided overlapping fields of vision. This improved depth perception, helping them judge distance while climbing, throwing objects, reaching for food, or using stone tools. The jaw of Homo habilis remained strong. Daily life involved eating foods that often required heavy chewing. Hard seeds, roots, raw plant material, nuts, and meat all placed demands on the teeth and jaw muscles. Their jaws were not as large as those of some earlier ancestors, but they were still much stronger than those of most people today. The teeth of Homo habilis also changed. Their back teeth were somewhat smaller than those of earlier ancestors. Their front teeth remained useful for biting and holding food. These changes may reflect the growing use of simple stone tools. Sharp stone flakes allowed food to be cut into smaller pieces before eating. As a result, extremely large chewing teeth became less necessary over time. Their tooth enamel remained thick. Thick enamel protected the teeth from damage while eating hard foods. Food sources changed throughout the year. During difficult times, they may have eaten tougher foods that required strong teeth. Thick enamel increased the chance that the teeth would remain useful throughout adult life. The chin of Homo habilis looked very different from that of modern humans. Modern people have a clear chin that projects forward. Homo habilis did not have this feature. Their lower jaw ended without the forward-pointing chin seen today. This is one of the clear differences between modern humans and many earlier members of the human family. The ears of Homo habilis cannot be directly studied because the outer ear is made of soft tissue. However, the bones around the ear provide information about hearing. Scientists believed they could hear well enough to communicate, detect animal sounds, recognize danger, and respond to members of their group. Good hearing helped them survive in environments filled with many different sounds. The neck supported the head while allowing movement in different directions. Turning the head quickly helped them watch for predators, locate family members, and search for food. Neck muscles were important for carrying the weight of the skull throughout daily activities. The hands of Homo habilis are among the most interesting parts of their body. Their name means handyman, because early scientists believed they were skilled at making and using stone tools. Later discoveries have shown that other early human relatives may also have made tools, but Homo habilis clearly possessed hands that were well suited for careful work. Their thumbs were strong and well developed. A strong thumb allowed them to grip objects firmly while also making careful movements. They could hold stones securely while striking other stones to create sharp, cutting edges. This ability was important because tool making required both strength and control. The fingers of Homo habilis were capable of holding small objects. They could pick up tiny items from the ground, handle plant material, prepare food, and shape simple stone tools. Fine finger movements became increasingly important as tool use became a regular part of daily life. The bones of the wrist also show adaptations connected with gripping and handling objects. Stable wrist joints allowed force to be directed through the hand while breaking stones or cutting materials. Strong wrists reduced the chance of injury during repeated work. Even with these advanced features, some finger bones remained slightly curved. Curved fingers are often associated with climbing. This suggests that Homo habilis still retained abilities useful for moving through trees. Their hands therefore served many purposes during daily life. Stone tools connected with Homo habilis were usually simple but useful. Sharp flakes cut meat from bones, sliced plant material, scraped animal skins, and prepared food. Hammer stones broke open bones to reach nutritious marrow inside. The hands of Homo habilis allowed them to perform these activities more efficiently than many earlier ancestors. The arms of Homo habilis remained relatively long. Long arms supported climbing and reaching. Strong arm muscles also helped while carrying food, lifting stones, gathering wood, or protecting themselves during dangerous situations. Their shoulders and elbows allowed flexible movement needed for many daily tasks. Their chest was shaped differently from that of modern humans. Some evidence suggests that it remained somewhat broader in the upper area. This body form reflected the mixture of walking and climbing abilities that characterized Homo habilis. The spine supported upright posture. The natural curves of the spine helped balance the body while standing and walking. These curves reduced strain during movement and allowed the head to remain balanced above the body. The hips of Homo habilis were adapted for walking upright. The pelvis supported body weight during movement and provided attachment points for muscles controlling the legs. Walking on 2 feet required careful balance because only 1 foot touches the ground during part of each step. Their legs carried them across many different landscapes. Fossil evidence suggests they walked through grasslands, open woodland, river valleys, and areas with scattered trees. Strong leg muscles allowed them to cover long distances while searching for food and water. The knees played an important role in upright walking. Their structure helped support body weight while standing and moving. Stable knees reduced the energy needed for travel across uneven ground. The feet of Homo habilis showed important changes from much older ancestors. Their big toe pointed forward rather than sticking out to the side like the grasping big toe seen in modern chimpanzees. This forward position improved balance during walking. Their feet contained arches that helped absorb the force created while walking. Although these arches may not have been exactly like those of modern humans, they supported efficient movement across different types of ground. The toes helped maintain balance. Each step required many muscles, bones, and joints working together. Stable feet reduced the chance of falling while carrying food or tools. The skin of Homo habilis cannot be preserved in fossils, so scientists cannot know its exact appearance. They study living humans, other primates, genetics, and environmental conditions to make informed ideas. Most researchers believe Homo habilis probably had darker skin because they lived under strong sunlight in Africa. Dark skin protects the body from harmful ultraviolet rays while helping maintain important nutrients. Body hair is another feature that cannot be directly observed in fossils. Scientists continue to study when early humans lost most of their body hair. Homo habilis probably had more body hair than modern humans, although the exact amount remains unknown. Hair could help protect the skin, while changes in hair cover may have been related to body temperature control during active movement. The color of their eyes cannot be known because eye color depends on soft tissue that does not survive. The same is true for hair color. Fossils preserve bones and teeth, not the parts that determine these features. The voice of Homo habilis also remains uncertain. The bones connected with speech are rarely preserved. Their brain shows signs of increasing ability for communication, but scientists do not know exactly how advanced their spoken sounds were. They almost certainly communicated with one another using calls, facial expressions, hand movements, body posture, and probably a growing variety of vocal sounds. Their facial muscles allowed many expressions, raising the eyebrows, opening the mouth, narrowing the eyes, or changing the position of the lips could all communicate information. Facial expressions likely helped group members understand warnings, requests, fear, anger, interest, or friendly intentions. The body of Homo habilis changed throughout life. Babies were born much smaller than adults and depended heavily on caregivers. Their bones slowly hardened as they grew. Their teeth appeared in stages, allowing scientists to estimate the ages of young fossil individuals. Young Homo habilis probably spent several years learning from older members of the group. They needed time to master walking, climbing, tool use, food gathering, and social behavior. A growing brain allowed learning to continue throughout childhood. Adult males and females may have differed in body size. Males were probably somewhat larger than females, although there was natural variation. Size differences are common among many primates and may have influenced daily activities, but both males and females contributed to finding food, caring for young, and protecting the group. Older adults may have shown signs of worn teeth, healed injuries, and changes in bone structure caused by many years of physical work. Studying these bones helps scientists understand how long individuals lived and the challenges they faced during life. Some Homo habilis fossils show healed injuries. This suggests that individuals sometimes survived accidents or attacks. Healing requires time, food, and rest. In some cases, it may also suggest that other group members offered help by sharing food or providing protection during recovery. Scientists have found Homo habilis fossils at several important sites in eastern and southern Africa. Each discovery adds new information because no single skeleton is complete. Researchers carefully compare bones from many individuals before describing the typical appearance of the species. Different individuals showed natural variation. Some had slightly larger brains, while others had smaller ones. Some had broader faces, while others had narrower faces. Heights, weights, and body proportions also varied. Just as modern people differ from one another, Homo habilis individuals also had unique physical features. Scientists continue to debate whether all fossils assigned to Homo habilis belong to one species, or whether some represent different, closely related species. New fossil discoveries sometimes change earlier ideas. As more evidence becomes available, descriptions of Homo habilis continue to improve. Despite these debates, several features consistently appear in most Homo habilis fossils. These include a larger brain than earlier ancestors, a face with reduced forward projection, smaller chewing teeth than many earlier species, hands capable of careful gripping, upright walking, and body features that still allowed climbing. Their appearance reflects a period during which important physical changes were taking place in human evolution. They had not yet developed the body shape of modern humans, but they also differed clearly from much older ancestors. Their bodies show both older features that had been inherited over many generations and newer features that would become more common in later human species. Stone tools changed the lives of early human ancestors in ways that affected almost every part of their daily existence. Among the earliest known makers of these tools was Homo habilis, a member of the human family that lived in parts of eastern and southern Africa. Scientists believe that Homo habilis appeared around 2,400,000 years ago and continued to exist until about 1,400,000 years ago. During this long period, these early humans lived in places where food could be difficult to find, where dangerous animals were common, and where changing weather often created new challenges. In such conditions, having even very simple tools made a real difference. Stone tools helped Homo habilis find food, prepare meals, protect themselves, and make better use of the resources around them. These tools did not solve every problem, but they gave Homo habilis new ways to deal with daily life that earlier ancestors may not have had. The earliest stone tools linked to Homo habilis were made by breaking one stone against another until a sharp edge appeared. The process was simple, but it required attention and practice. The toolmaker had to choose a stone that would break in the right way. Not every rock could produce a useful cutting edge. Some rocks broke into rough pieces without forming sharp edges, while others cracked in ways that made them useful for cutting or scraping. Over time, Homo habilis learned which stones worked best. This knowledge became an important part of daily life because a good tool could help with many different tasks. Scientists have found many of these early stone tools in places such as Oldowan Gorge in Tanzania, Kubifora in Kenya, and other important fossil sites across Africa. These discoveries show that Homo habilis often lived in areas where suitable stones could be collected. Some stones were gathered from riverbanks, while others came from rocky ground. Early humans sometimes carried useful stones from one place to another so they could make tools when needed. This shows that they planned ahead instead of depending only on whatever happened to be nearby. The earliest group of stone tools is often called the Oldowan tool industry. These tools were simple in appearance, but they were useful for many purposes. A stone core was struck with another stone called a hammerstone. Each strike removed a sharp flake from the core. The flakes often became the most useful part, because their thin edges could cut through meat, plants, and animal skin. The remaining core could also be used for pounding or breaking objects. Every useful piece was kept because making tools required time and effort. Sharp flakes allowed Homo habilis to cut animal meat into smaller pieces. Instead of tearing flesh, only with their teeth they could use a cutting edge to separate meat from bone. This made eating easier and reduced the effort needed to prepare food. Meat provided important nutrients that helped support the body. Access to more food increased the chances of surviving during difficult times when other food sources became scarce. Stone tools also allowed Homo habilis to break open animal bones. Inside many large bones was soft marrow, which contained fat and other valuable nutrients. Large predators often left bones behind after eating most of the meat. Homo habilis could collect these remains and use stones to crack the bones open. Even though little meat remained, the marrow inside could still provide energy. This meant that food could be found even after other animals had finished feeding. Plants were another important part of the diet. Stone tools helped cut roots, stems, fruits, and other plant materials. Some plants were difficult to remove from the ground without digging or cutting. A sharp stone edge made these tasks easier. Plant food supplied vitamins, minerals, and energy that supported everyday life. Depending on the season, different plants became available, and Homo habilis learned where and when to collect them. Some tools were used to scrape animal skins. Removing leftover meat and fat from hides helped prepare them for other uses. Scientists cannot always determine exactly how hides were used because soft materials usually disappear over long periods. However, prepared skins may have served practical purposes, such as covering sleeping areas or offering some protection from weather. Even if only simple uses were involved, scraping tools made this work possible. Wood was another material that became easier to shape with stone tools. Although wood rarely survives for scientists to study after millions of years, many researchers believe Homo habilis used wooden sticks for digging, carrying, or reaching food. Sharp stone flakes could trim branches or remove bark. A straight stick could become more useful after being shaped with a cutting tool. Tool making required careful observation. Homo habilis needed to understand where to strike a stone to produce useful flakes. Hitting the wrong place might waste a valuable rock. Through repeated practice, individuals likely improved their skills over time. Younger members of a group probably learned by watching older and more experienced tool makers. Knowledge passed from one generation to another allowed these skills to continue. learning did not happen instantly. Young Homo habilis likely spent years observing adults as they searched for stones, shaped tools, and used them during daily activities. They may have copied these actions many times before becoming skilled. Practice helped improve their ability to make tools that worked well. Every successful tool became a result of experience gained through repeated effort. Stone tools also encourage cooperation. When an animal was found, different members of a group could help in different ways. Some watched for danger, while others cut meat or broke bones. Sharing food may have helped strengthen group relationships. Living together increased the chances of survival because many tasks became easier when several individuals worked together. Danger remained a constant part of life. Africa contained many powerful predators, including large cats, crocodiles, and hyenas. Homo habilis had to stay alert while searching for food. Stone tools were not powerful weapons against these animals, but they could help cut branches, prepare sticks, or produce loud sounds by striking stones together. Groups working together had better chances of avoiding danger than individuals acting alone. Many scientists believe Homo habilis often collected meat from animals that had already died instead of hunting large animals directly. Stone tools made this possible because sharp flakes quickly removed meat before larger scavengers returned. Speed mattered because dangerous animals could appear at any time. Having ready-made cutting tools allowed Homo habilis to make the most of short opportunities. Weather conditions often changed throughout the year. Rainy seasons brought fresh plant growth, while dry seasons reduced available food and water. Stone tools helped people adjust because they could prepare different kinds of food depending on what was available. Flexibility increased the chances of surviving changing conditions. Finding suitable stone became an important activity. Groups likely remembered places where good rocks could be found. Returning to these locations saved time because reliable materials were already known. Some archaeological sites contain large numbers of stone flakes, showing that tool-making happened repeatedly in the same places over long periods. Different rocks produced different results. Volcanic rocks, quartz, quartzite, and flint-like materials often broke into sharp pieces. Homo habilis gradually recognized these qualities through experience. Choosing the right material reduced wasted effort and improved the quality of finished tools. Hammerstones played an important role in tool production. These rounded stones were held firmly and used to strike another rock with enough force to remove flakes. The angle of each strike mattered. Too much force could shatter the stone. Too little force might produce no useful flakes at all. Skill developed through repeated attempts. Each finished flake served different purposes depending on its shape. Some flakes had long cutting edges suitable for slicing meat. Others had thicker edges that worked better for scraping hides or cleaning wood. Even small flakes could remain useful if their edges stayed sharp. Stone tools became worn through regular use. Cutting tough materials slowly reduced the sharpness of an edge. Instead of throwing tools away immediately, Homo habilis could reshape them by removing additional flakes. This extended the useful life of each tool and reduced the need to begin again with a new stone. Archaeologists study tiny marks left on ancient tools under powerful microscopes. These marks provide clues about how tools were used. Some patterns suggest cutting meat, while others indicate scraping wood or working with plants. These small details help scientists build a better understanding of everyday activities carried out by Homo habilis. Food preparation improved because of these tools. Meat could be divided into smaller pieces that were easier to eat. Plant materials could be cut into manageable sizes. Bone marrow became accessible after bones were broken apart. These changes allowed Homo habilis to make fuller use of available food sources. Stone tools also reduced waste. Instead of leaving valuable parts of an animal behind, early humans could remove meat from difficult places and reach marrow hidden inside bones. Every useful part of a food source became more accessible. This increased the amount of nutrition gained from each opportunity. The ability to solve problems became more important as tool use spread. If one stone broke badly, another could be selected. If a cutting edge became dull, it could be sharpened again. Tool making encouraged careful thinking about materials, actions, and results. Homo habilis learned through experience which methods produced the best outcomes. Daily life remained demanding despite these advances. Food was never guaranteed. Water sources sometimes dried up. Predators continued to threaten safety. Illness and injuries created additional risks. Stone tools did not remove these dangers, but they provided practical ways to handle many everyday challenges more effectively. The development of stone tool making marked an important step in human history, because it showed that early humans were beginning to rely not only on their bodies, but also on objects they deliberately shaped for specific purposes. Each carefully struck stone reflected planning, learning, practice, and the sharing of knowledge within small groups. These simple tools became part of everyday survival, helping Homo habilis make better use of food, natural materials, and opportunities that appeared in their environment. Homo habilis lived in parts of Africa during a time when finding enough food was one of the most important parts of daily life. Every day brought new challenges because food could not be stored for long periods, and there were no farms, gardens, or domestic animals. Survival depended on knowing where to search, what could be safely eaten, and when different foods became available. Their diet included many kinds of natural foods that came from the land around them. They ate plants, fruits, roots, seeds, nuts, insects, eggs, meat, and the rich marrow found inside animal bones. Their food changed with the seasons, the weather, and the places where they lived. The land where Homo habilis lived was made up of open grasslands, groups of trees, riverbanks, lakes, and rocky places. Each area provided different foods. Trees gave fruits, leaves, flowers, and seeds. The ground held roots and tubers that could be dug up and eaten. Rivers and lakes attracted animals and birds, making these places useful for finding food. Rocky places often became good areas for breaking open bones with simple stone tools to reach the soft marrow inside. Plants formed an important part of the daily diet. Wild plants grew naturally without anyone planting or caring for them. Homo habilis learned which plants could be eaten and which ones were dangerous. This knowledge was important because eating the wrong plant could cause sickness or even death. Young members of the group probably learned by watching older family members gather food and avoid harmful plants. Leaves from certain plants could be picked and eaten fresh. Some leaves were soft and easy to chew, while others were tougher. Fresh leaves contained water as well as nutrients that helped support the body. Flowers from some plants were also edible and provided another source of food when they were available. Wild fruits were among the easiest foods to collect. Different trees and bushes produced fruits at different times of the year. Some fruits were small while others were larger. Their colors, smells, and tastes varied. Some were sweet while others were sour or slightly bitter. Fruits supplied natural sugars that gave quick energy for walking, climbing, gathering, and carrying food. Finding fruit required careful attention. Members of a group needed to remember where fruit trees grew and return when the fruits became ripe. Animals also searched for fruit, so there was often competition. Birds, monkeys, and other animals reached many trees before humans did. Homo habilis had to gather fruit while enough still remained. Some fruits fell naturally onto the ground. These could be picked up if they were still fresh. Others had to be reached by climbing low branches or stretching to pick them. Children may have helped gather fruits that were easy to reach, while adults collected food from higher branches or searched over larger areas. Seeds also played a part in the diet. Many plants produced seeds that could be eaten after removing the outer covering. Seeds were often small, so gathering enough required time and patience. They contained useful nutrients and healthy oils that helped provide energy. Wild nuts were another food source in places where nut-bearing trees grew. Some nuts had hard shells that protected the food inside. Opening these shells sometimes required striking them against rocks or using simple stone tools. Once opened, the inside could be eaten. Nuts contained fat and protein, making them valuable foods whenever they could be found. Roots growing beneath the soil provided another dependable source of food. Digging them out required effort. Sticks, stones, or hands could be used to loosen the earth before pulling the roots free. Some roots were long, while others were round or thick. They often contained stored energy that helped plants survive dry periods. This also made them useful foods for humans. Tubers grew underground and stored water and nutrients. These underground foods remained available even when many fruits were no longer growing on trees. Digging for tubers required knowing where the plants grew because most of the food stayed hidden beneath the ground. Experience helped people remember the best places to search. Some roots and tubers could be eaten raw, although they might have been tough or hard to chew. Others may have become softer if left in the sun or placed near a fire after people learned to use natural fire much later. During the time when Homo habilis first appeared, there is little clear evidence that they regularly cooked food. Most foods were probably eaten in their natural state. Grass seeds may also have been collected when they were available. Each seed was very small, making collection slow. Even so, gathering many seeds could provide another source of food. Small amounts gathered over time added to the variety of the daily diet. Berries growing on bushes offered another food source. These berries appeared during certain seasons and were often brightly colored when ripe. Knowing which berries were safe was important because some wild berries were not suitable for eating. Knowledge passed through families helped people avoid harmful plants. Insects were available throughout much of the year. They were easy to find in logs, under rocks, inside the ground, and among plants. Termites lived in large mounds that could contain thousands of insects. Breaking into a mound allowed people to collect many termites quickly. Termites were rich in protein and fat. Ants also provided food. Gathering ants required care because many species bite or sting. Some ants could simply be picked up, while others needed to be collected with sticks or leaves. Their nests sometimes contained eggs and young insects that were also edible. Beetles, grubs, caterpillars, and other insects could be gathered from dead wood, tree bark, or soft soil. These foods may not seem appealing today, but they supplied important nutrients. They were available in many environments and required little equipment to collect. Honey was another valuable food whenever it could be found. Wild bees built nests inside tree holes or other sheltered places. Honey provided a rich source of natural sugar. Reaching it was dangerous because bees defended their nests. Anyone trying to collect honey risked being stung many times. Even with this danger, the sweet food inside the nest was worth the effort. Bird eggs offered another useful source of nutrition. During nesting seasons, Eggs could be collected from nests built on the ground, in bushes, or in trees. Eggs contained protein and fat that supported growth and daily activity. Finding nests required careful searching and observation of bird behavior. Small animals became part of the diet whenever they could be caught. These included rodents, young animals, reptiles, frogs, and birds. Catching such animals demanded patience, quick movement, and careful planning. Some could be caught by hand, while others may have been trapped in natural spaces or struck with simple tools. Fish may also have been eaten when they were easy to catch in shallow water, or when stranded in pools left behind after rivers changed course. Collecting fish by hand would have been difficult but possible under the right conditions. Shellfish and freshwater animals living along riverbanks may also have added variety to the diet. Meat became an important source of food whenever it was available. Homo habilis probably did not hunt large animals regularly with success because they lacked advanced weapons. Instead, they often found animals that had already died, or the remains left behind after large predators finished feeding. Lions, leopards, hyenas, and other meat-eating animals usually left bones, skin, and pieces of meat after eating their fill. Once these predators moved away, Homo habilis could approach carefully to collect what remained. This work carried great danger because predators sometimes returned to unfinished meals. Stone tools played a very important part in getting meat from animal remains. Sharp stone flakes could cut through skin, tendons, and pieces of flesh still attached to bones. Without these cutting edges, much of the remaining meat would have been difficult to remove. The simple stone tools used by Homo habilis were made by striking one stone against another. This produced sharp flakes with cutting edges. Although these tools were simple, they greatly increased the amount of food that could be collected from animal remains. They allowed people to remove meat more quickly before other scavengers arrived. One of the richest foods available was bone marrow. Marrow is the soft material found inside many large animal bones. It contains large amounts of fat along with other nutrients that help support the body. Reaching the marrow required breaking open thick bones using heavy stones. Large rocks could be used to strike bones until they cracked open. Once broken, the soft marrow could be scooped out and eaten. This food was especially valuable because it remained protected inside the bone even after most of the meat had already been removed by predators. Scientists have found ancient animal bones with cut marks made by sharp stone tools and break marks caused by striking the bones. These discoveries suggest that early humans removed meat and broke bones to reach the marrow inside. Such evidence helps researchers understand the eating habits of Homo habilis. Bone marrow supplied energy because of its high fat content. Fat was especially important during times when food became harder to find. A small amount of marrow could provide a large amount of energy that helped support daily activities. Brains from animal skulls may also have been eaten when available. Like marrow, brain tissue contains fat and nutrients. Opening the skull required striking it with stones until it cracked. This work took effort, but rewarded people with another rich food source. Different seasons changed the foods that were available. During wet periods, plants grew more quickly, rivers held more water, and fruits became more common. During dry periods, some plants stopped producing fruit, making underground foods, insects, and animal remains more important. Rainfall affected where animals gathered. Large animals often moved toward rivers and lakes when water became scarce. This also increased the chances of finding animal remains left behind by predators near these water sources. Food gathering probably occupied much of each day. Members of a group spread out across the landscape while remaining close enough to warn each other about danger. They watched for predators searched for edible plants, listened for birds, and looked for signs that other animals had recently fed. Older members of the group likely shared their knowledge with younger ones. Children learned how to recognize safe foods, where to search, how to use simple stone tools, and how to avoid dangerous animals while gathering food. This learning helped improve survival across generations. Homo habilis lived in eastern and southern Africa during a time when staying alive depended on finding enough food every day. Food was never guaranteed. Every day brought new chances to eat and new dangers that could stop them from eating at all. They had to move across open grasslands, patches of woodland, riverbanks, and areas filled with bushes and rocks. These different places offered different kinds of food, but they also contained many dangerous animals: lions, saber-toothed cats, hyenas, crocodiles, giant birds of prey, and other meat-eating animals shared the same land. Homo habilis had to stay alert while searching for food, because becoming careless could quickly lead to death. One question has interested scientists for many years. Did Homo habilis hunt animals, or did they mostly survive by feeding on the remains left behind after larger predators had finished eating? The answer is not simple, because the evidence suggests that both activities probably took place. Instead of depending on only one way of getting meat, Homo habilis likely used every safe chance they could find. Their daily lives probably changed according to the season, the weather, the number of animals nearby, and the amount of food that was available. Scientists study ancient bones, stone tools, and marks left behind on animal skeletons to understand how Homo habilis got food. These clues are often very small, but together they help build a picture of everyday life. Archaeologists carefully examine tiny cuts made by sharp stone tools and bite marks made by animal teeth. The order in which these marks appear on bones can sometimes show whether humans reached the animal before large predators or after them. Many animal bones found at ancient sites contain thin cuts made by stone tools. These marks show that Homo habilis used sharp rocks to remove meat from bones. They also broke bones open to reach the soft marrow inside. Bone marrow contains fat and nutrients that can provide a great deal of energy. Even when little meat remained on a skeleton, the marrow hidden inside the bones could still be valuable. Reaching it required strong blows with heavy stones. Large predators usually ate the soft parts of an animal first. They often removed much of the flesh, but they did not always break every bone. Sometimes they left behind legs, ribs, or other parts that still contained useful food. If Homo habilis arrived after the predators had left, they could use stone tools to cut away the remaining meat and smash the bones to reach the marrow. Even a partly eaten animal could provide enough food to make the effort worthwhile. Scavenging means feeding on animals that have already died. Some animals die because of disease, old age, accidents, drought, or attacks by predators. Many living animals still survive this way today. Vultures, hyenas, jackals, and many birds often search for dead animals instead of hunting live ones every time they become hungry. Early humans may also have taken advantage of these opportunities whenever they found them. Finding a dead animal was not always easy. The smell of a fresh carcass could attract many hungry creatures. Vultures, flying overhead, often revealed where food could be found. Homo habilis may have watched these birds and followed them from a safe distance. When many vultures gathered in one place, it often meant that an animal had recently died. Reaching the site quickly could increase the chance of finding edible meat before every piece had been eaten. Even after a large predator finished feeding, danger often remained. Lions sometimes rested close to their kill. Hyenas frequently arrived to fight over what remained. Leopards could drag food into trees. Crocodiles stayed near rivers where animals came to drink. Homo habilis had to judge every situation carefully before moving closer. Entering too soon could lead to a deadly attack. Their small body size made direct fights with large predators almost impossible. Homo habilis could not overpower lions or other large meat-eaters. Instead, they probably relied on watching carefully, waiting patiently and approaching only when the danger had passed. This required attention, memory, and good judgment. Making the wrong decision could cost a life. Stone tools played an important part in making scavenging successful. Without sharp tools, removing the remaining meat from bones would have taken much longer. Teeth alone were not enough to cut thick skin or separate muscles from bone efficiently. Sharp stone flakes acted like simple knives. Heavy stones acted like hammers that could crack bones open. Scientists have discovered many simple stone tools at places connected with Homo habilis. These tools belong to what is known as the Oldowan stone tool tradition. They were made by striking one stone against another until sharp flakes broke away. The flakes were used for cutting. The larger stone cores could also be used for breaking bones or pounding food. Making these tools required planning and practice. Not every broken stone produced a useful edge. Homo habilis had to choose suitable rocks, strike them correctly, and keep useful pieces for later use. This skill increased the amount of food they could obtain from each animal they found. Although scavenging provided many chances for food, it also had limits. By the time Homo habilis reached a carcass, much of the meat might already be gone. Other scavengers often arrived quickly. Hyenas could crush bones with their powerful jaws. Smaller animals also removed bits of flesh. Waiting too long could leave almost nothing behind. Because of these limits, many scientists believe Homo habilis also hunted at least some animals. The animals they hunted were probably much smaller than the large mammals hunted by later human species. Catching small animals required less strength and carried fewer risks than attacking very large prey. Small mammals, young animals, birds, reptiles, fish, insects and eggs could all have been part of their diet. These animals were easier to catch, especially when working together. Even simple hunting could provide valuable protein and fat. Some researchers believe Homo habilis may have chased small animals into places where escape became difficult. Thick bushes, rocky ground, or shallow water could slow down prey. Once trapped, the animals could be struck with stones or wooden sticks. Simple hunting methods like these did not require advanced weapons. Wood rarely survives for millions of years, so direct evidence of wooden hunting tools is limited. However, early humans almost certainly picked up branches and sticks from the ground. A sturdy stick could help scare animals, strike small prey, move branches, or protect against danger. Even without carefully shaped spears, wooden tools may have been useful. Young animals were often easier to catch than healthy adults. During certain seasons, many mammals gave birth. Newborn animals and juveniles moved more slowly and had less experience escaping danger. If separated from their mothers, they became easier targets. Bird nests also offered food. Eggs contain protein and fat. Chicks unable to fly could be collected if nests were found. Climbing trees involved danger, but the reward could be worthwhile. Different foods reduced dependence on a single source. Rivers and lakes offered additional opportunities. Fish trapped in shallow pools during dry periods became easier to collect. Turtles moved slowly on land. Frogs could be gathered near water. Shellfish might also have been collected where available. These foods expanded the diet and reduced the risk of hunger. Insects probably played an important role as well. Termites, ants, beetle larvae, and other insects contain nutrients that support health. Termite mounds could be opened with sticks or stones. Many living people still eat insects because they provide useful nutrition. Homo habilis likely understood where and when insects could be collected. The search for food demanded constant movement. Homo habilis probably travelled many kilometres each day while looking for plants, fruits, roots, nuts, seeds, insects, and animal food. While moving through the landscape, they remained alert for signs of fresh kills, animal tracks, bird activity, and changing weather. Animal tracks left important information. Fresh footprints could show where herds had recently passed. Broken branches, disturbed soil, and droppings also revealed animal movements. Following these clues may have helped Homo habilis locate animals or discover carcasses before other scavengers arrived. Smell also played a role. The scent of a dead animal could travel across long distances, especially on windy days. Homo habilis may have recognized these smells and followed them carefully while staying alert for hidden predators. Working together increased safety. A group could watch for danger while others cut meat from bones. Some members could carry food while others kept watch. Sharing responsibilities improved survival. A lone individual faced greater danger from predators and competing scavengers. Scientists believed that cooperation became increasingly important during human evolution. Even simple teamwork offered many advantages. Groups could warn each other about approaching animals, share information about food sources, help injured members, and defend valuable food from smaller competitors. Communication likely supported these activities. Homo habilis probably did not speak with the complex language used today, but they almost certainly communicated through sounds, gestures, facial expressions, and body movements. Pointing toward danger or signaling that food had been found could help the whole group. Stone tools also allowed Homo habilis to process food more efficiently after returning to safer places. Carrying parts of an animal away from the kill reduced the time spent near dangerous predators. Once in a safer location, they could continue cutting meat, breaking bones, and sharing food. Transporting food required planning. A heavy leg bone filled with marrow could provide valuable nutrition even after being carried over some distance. Groups may have decided which pieces offered the greatest reward before leaving the carcass. Some archaeological sites contain many broken bones together with stone tools. These places may have served as areas where Homo habilis repeatedly processed food. Returning to familiar locations may have made daily life more organized. Scientists sometimes disagree about whether the cut marks or tooth marks appeared first on certain bones. If stone tool marks lie beneath tooth marks, this may suggest humans reached the animal first and predators fed afterward. If tooth marks appear beneath stone cuts, predators likely arrived first and humans scavenged later. Different sites show different patterns. This suggests that Homo habilis did not always use the same strategy. Weather strongly influenced food availability. During wetter periods, plants grew more abundantly, and many animals spread across the landscape. During dry periods, water became scarce, forcing animals to gather around rivers and lakes. These gatherings created both opportunities and dangers. When many animals gathered near water, predators also appeared in greater numbers. Homo habilis had to judge whether searching these places was worth the risk. Sometimes a recently dead animal could provide food. At other times, approaching too closely could bring them face to face with hungry carnivores. Seasons also affected plant foods. Fruits ripened only during certain parts of the year. Leaves, roots, nuts, and seeds became more or less available depending on rainfall. When plant foods became scarce, meat and marrow may have become more important. Bone marrow deserves special attention because it provided concentrated energy. Breaking open large bones required effort, but the reward justified the work. Marrow contains fat that helps support the body. Fat is especially valuable when other food is difficult to find. Homo habilis probably recognized which bones contained the most marrow and learned the best ways to break them open. Brains from animal skulls also contain fat and nutrients. If skulls remained intact after predators fed, Homo habilis may have broken them open using heavy stones. Accessing these food sources required skill and persistence. Not every hunting attempt succeeded. Small animals escaped, birds flew away, fish swam into deeper water. Failed hunts cost time and energy. For this reason, scavenging remained an important backup whenever opportunities appeared. Likewise, not every scavenging trip produced food. Predators sometimes consumed nearly everything before humans arrived. Other scavengers reached the carcass first. Weather could quickly spoil meat. Depending only on scavenging would also create problems. Using both methods increased the chances of finding enough food. If hunting failed, scavenging might succeed. If no carcasses were available, gathering plants and catching small animals could provide another meal. Flexibility helped Homo habilis respond to changing conditions. Scientists often describe Homo habilis as opportunistic feeders. This means they took advantage of whatever safe food became available rather than depending on a single source. Such flexibility is seen in many successful animal species today. For Homo habilis, it probably reduced the risk of starvation. Evidence from animal bones shows that stone tools were used on many different kinds of animals. Some belonged to large mammals, while others came from smaller species. This wide range suggests that Homo habilis did not ignore available food simply because it came from different animals. The size of their brain may also have influenced food gathering. Homo habilis had a larger brain than earlier human ancestors. Although still much smaller than modern humans, this increase may have supported better memory, improved planning, and more effective problem-solving. These abilities helped them judge danger, remember food locations, and make useful tools. Children probably learned these skills by watching older group members. Young Homo habilis may have observed adults making stone tools, cutting meat, finding edible plants, and avoiding predators. Learning through observation allowed important knowledge to pass from one generation to the next. Experience mattered greatly. Older individuals likely recognized animal behavior, seasonal changes, and safe travel routes. Knowing where vultures often gathered or where animals crossed rivers could improve the chances of finding food. Competition existed not only with predators, but also with other scavengers. Hyenas possessed strong jaws that crushed bones quickly. Vultures could spot carcasses from high in the sky. Jackals and wild dogs also searched for dead animals. Homo habilis entered a crowded world where many species depended on the same food. Sometimes loud noises, waving arms, throwing stones, or gathering in groups may have frightened smaller scavengers away from a carcass. Such actions probably worked better against smaller animals than against lions or other powerful predators. Stone throwing may have served several purposes. Stones could scare animals, help defend food, injure small prey, or create distance between humans and danger. Picking up stones required no special preparation because suitable rocks often lay on the ground. Many experts believed that courage alone would not have been enough for survival. Careful judgment mattered far more. Knowing when to approach and when to leave likely saved many lives. A partly eaten carcass was not worth dying for if a lion remained nearby. Fire was probably not under the regular control of Homo habilis. Without controlled fire, they likely ate meat raw. Raw meat requires strong chewing, but sharp stone tools made eating easier by cutting meat into smaller pieces before it entered the mouth. Raw meat spoils quickly in warm weather. Homo habilis probably needed to eat it soon after obtaining it. Sharing food among group members reduced waste and helped everyone receive nourishment before the meat became unsafe. Scientists also study chemical clues preserved inside ancient teeth. These clues sometimes provide information about diet. Results suggest that Homo habilis ate a mixture of plant foods and animal foods. Different groups may have eaten different amounts depending on local conditions. No single pattern fits every location where Homo habilis lived. Some areas contained more rivers, while others had open grasslands or thicker woodland. Local animals and plants differed from place to place. Food choices likely changed according to what each environment offered. Periods of drought created especially difficult conditions. Plants dried up and animals traveled farther in search of water. Hunger probably became more common. During such times, finding even a partly eaten carcass could provide valuable nourishment. Heavy rains also changed daily life. Rivers flooded, plants grew rapidly, and animal movements shifted. Some foods became easier to collect, while others became harder to reach. Homo habilis needed to adjust constantly. Energy played an important role in every decision. Walking long distances, making tools, carrying food, climbing, digging, and staying alert all required calories. Hunting large, dangerous animals could waste energy if it failed. Scavenging carried risks, but sometimes offered high rewards with less physical effort. Catching small animals required different amounts of work depending on the prey. The ability to think about these choices may have become increasingly important during human evolution. Selecting the safest and most rewarding option helped improve survival. Individuals who made better decisions may have been more likely to live long enough to raise children. Some scientists argue that early hunting gradually became more organized over many generations. At first, hunting probably focused mainly on small animals. As later human species developed larger brains, better tools, stronger cooperation, and improved planning, hunting larger animals became more common. Homo habilis may represent an early stage in this long process. The evidence available today does not point to only hunting or only scavenging. Instead, it shows many signs that Homo habilis used whatever method gave the best chance of finding food while reducing unnecessary danger. They gathered plants, collected fruits, dug for roots, searched for insects, caught smaller animals, removed meat from carcasses, broke bones for marrow, and adapted their behavior to changing conditions. Each successful meal depended on awareness, patience, observation, skill with stone tools, cooperation within the group, and careful attention to the behavior of animals sharing the same landscape. Their daily search for food shaped where they traveled, how they spent their time, what they learned from one another, and the survival skills that became part of the growing story of the human family. Africa was home to many dangerous animals during the time when Homo habilis lived. Every day brought new risks. These early humans did not live in a peaceful place where food could be gathered without fear. The land around them was shared with many powerful hunters that were stronger, faster, and better armed by nature. Large cats waited in the grass for a chance to attack. Giant hyenas searched for food and defended their territory with great force. Crocodiles rested quietly in rivers and lakes, ready to catch anything that came too close. Large snakes, birds of prey, wild dogs, and other meat-eating animals also lived in the same places. Homo habilis had to survive in this world with a body that had few natural defences. They had no sharp claws, no large teeth made for fighting, and no thick skin to protect them. Their greatest strength came from careful thinking, working together and paying close attention to the world around them. Every new day began with the need to stay alive. The moment they left a safe resting place, they entered a land filled with danger. They could never assume that an area was free from predators. Even places that looked calm could hide an animal waiting for the right moment to attack. Because of this, they needed to stay alert from sunrise until darkness covered the land. Looking around often became a normal part of daily life. Listening carefully also mattered because the sounds of birds, monkeys, or other animals sometimes warned that a predator was nearby. A sudden silence could also mean danger. Learning to notice these signs helped them avoid deadly situations. Many scientists believe that Homo habilis lived in small groups. Staying together gave them a better chance of surviving. One person alone could easily become the target of a hungry predator. A group of adults could watch in different directions at the same time. While some searched for food, others stayed alert for danger. If someone noticed a large cat or another threat, warning sounds could quickly spread through the group. This gave everyone a chance to escape before the predator moved close enough to attack. Young children needed constant protection. They could not run as fast as adults, and they lacked the experience needed to recognize danger. Adults likely carried young children during travel or kept them close while gathering food. Older children probably learned survival skills by watching the adults. They learned where it was safe to walk, where dangerous animals often stayed, and how to react when a threat appeared. These lessons became an important part of daily life, because a single mistake could lead to injury or death. Among the most feared predators were saber-toothed cats. These large meat-eating animals had long teeth that made them well suited for attacking large prey. Their strong bodies allowed them to overpower many animals living in the same environment. Homo habilis could not fight such predators directly. The safest choice was to avoid them whenever possible. They probably watched for fresh footprints, broken plants, strong animal smells, or the remains of recent kills. These signs warned that a dangerous hunter might still be nearby. Saber-toothed cats often rested after making a kill. During this time, they defended their food from other animals. If Homo habilis found the body of a dead animal, they had to decide whether the predator had truly left the area. Moving toward fresh meat without checking carefully could place them directly in the path of a waiting cat. Some members of the group may have watched from a distance while others looked for signs of movement. Only when they believed the area was safe would they move closer, and even then they likely stayed ready to leave quickly. Giant hyenas created another serious danger. These animals were much larger than many hyenas living today. They had very powerful jaws that could crush bones. They competed with other meat-eaters for food and were willing to challenge many animals. Homo habilis had every reason to avoid direct contact with them. Giant hyenas may have hunted some prey themselves and also searched for animals already killed by others. This often placed them in the same places where Homo habilis searched for food. A giant hyena could become aggressive if it felt threatened or if food was nearby. Homo habilis likely stayed away from places where groups of hyenas gathered. Loud calls from hyenas may have warned people that the area was unsafe. Their strong sense of smell also meant that they could notice food from a distance. If Homo habilis carried fresh meat, they may have moved carefully and quickly to avoid attracting unwanted attention. Rivers, lakes, and wetlands offered fresh water that every living creature needed. These places also supplied fish, plants, and animals that could be eaten. However, they carried another hidden danger. Crocodiles spent much of their time waiting quietly in the water. They often remained almost completely hidden until prey came close enough to catch. Homo habilis needed water for drinking, but reaching the water safely required great care. Approaching a river probably involved careful observation. Adults may have looked for movement in the water or watched for birds and animals behaving strangely. If crocodiles were present, the group may have chosen another place to drink or waited until they believed the area was safer. Children were especially at risk because they could easily move too close to the edge. Adults likely kept them under close watch whenever they approached water. Heavy rain could increase danger around rivers. Water levels sometimes rose, making it harder to see crocodiles hiding beneath the surface. Flooded areas also changed the paths that animals used. Homo habilis had to adjust to these changing conditions. Their ability to notice changes in the environment may have helped them avoid many dangerous encounters. Large snakes also lived in parts of Africa where Homo habilis traveled. Some snakes relied on venom, while others killed by wrapping around their prey. Thick grass, fallen branches, and rocky places could hide these animals. People likely walked carefully through such areas, paying attention to where they placed their feet and hands. A snake bite could become life-threatening, especially without any form of medical care. Birds of prey also posed a danger, mainly to very young children. Large eagles could attack small animals from above. Adults likely remained close to infants and young children in open areas where these birds hunted. Staying together reduced the chance that a child would become separated from the group. Wild dogs were another threat. They often hunted in groups and worked together to catch prey. Their teamwork made them successful hunters. Homo habilis probably avoided areas where packs of wild dogs were active. Hearing their calls could signal that it was time to leave. Although wild dogs mainly hunted other animals, they could become dangerous if they saw an easy opportunity. Leopards were skilled climbers and often rested in trees. A tree that appeared safe could actually hide a waiting predator. Homo habilis needed to remain alert even when looking upward. Climbing trees might sometimes provide safety, but not every tree offered protection. Learning which places were safer probably came through years of experience shared within the group. Night brought even greater danger. Many predators became more active after sunset. Darkness reduced the ability to see approaching animals. Because of this, Homo habilis likely searched for safe resting places before evening arrived. Thick bushes, rocky shelters, or places with a good view of the surrounding land may have offered some protection. Sleeping in unsafe areas could leave the group exposed to attacks during the night. The sounds of predators after dark probably kept everyone alert. Roars, growls, calls, and movement through dry grass reminded them that dangerous animals remained close. Adults may have taken turns staying awake to watch for threats, while others rested. Even short periods of watchfulness could provide valuable warning if a predator approached. Finding food often increased the chance of meeting dangerous animals. Fruit trees attracted many species. Grazing animals gathered in areas with fresh grass. Predators followed these animals because they depended on them for food. Homo habilis needed to balance the search for food with the need to stay alive. They probably avoided places where large groups of grazing animals suddenly became nervous or ran away, since such behavior often signaled that a predator was nearby. Stone tools may also have helped during dangerous situations. Although these simple tools were mainly used for cutting meat, breaking bones, and preparing plants, they could also serve as objects for defense if escape was impossible. Throwing stones or waving sharp tools while making loud sounds may have discouraged some animals from coming closer. Even so, avoiding conflict remained the safest choice. Working together made many survival tasks easier. Some members of the group could watch while others collected fruit, dug for roots, or searched for animal remains. If danger appeared, warning calls could spread quickly. This teamwork increased the chance that everyone would escape safely. Groups that cooperated well were more likely to survive over many years. Experience became one of the most valuable forms of knowledge. Older members of the group probably remembered places where predators often appeared. They knew which paths were safer during different seasons and which watering places carried the greatest risk. Younger members learned by following these experienced adults. This passing of knowledge from one generation to the next strengthened the group's ability to avoid danger. Weather also influenced encounters with predators. During dry periods, animals gathered around the few remaining water sources. This increased the number of predators waiting nearby. Homo habilis had to approach these places with even greater caution. During wetter times, water became available in more places, allowing both people and animals to spread across a larger area. Even then, danger never disappeared, because predators could still appear unexpectedly. The remains of dead animals often attracted many different scavengers. Vultures circling in the sky could show where a dead animal lay. Homo habilis may have watched these birds because they sometimes led to a possible source of meat. However, the same place could attract hyenas, large cats, jackals, and other scavengers. Reaching such a site required patience and careful observation. Rushing toward food without checking the surroundings could place the group in serious danger. Predators also competed with one another. A large cat feeding on a kill might later be challenged by hyenas. These conflicts created brief chances for Homo habilis to collect leftover meat after the larger animals moved away. Even during these moments, they had to remain alert because one of the predators could return at any time. Injuries created another serious problem. A person with a hurt leg or foot could not run quickly if danger appeared. This made recovery especially difficult. Group members may have slowed their travel to help injured individuals move safely. Protecting weaker members increased the survival of the entire group because every adult contributed skills and knowledge that benefited everyone. People who study early humans believe that Homo habilis survived because they did not live alone most of the time. Life in eastern and southern Africa was full of dangers. Food was not always easy to find. The weather changed during different times of the year, and many large animals could harm or kill a person. A single individual had very little chance of staying safe for a long time. Living in small family groups gave these early humans a better chance of finding food, caring for children, avoiding danger, and dealing with the many problems that came with everyday life. Their daily activities were closely connected with the people around them. Every member of the group could play a part, and working together made many tasks easier than trying to do everything alone. Scientists cannot watch Homo habilis in real life because they lived about 2 million to about 1,500,000 years ago. Instead, they study fossils, stone tools, animal bones, footprints left by ancient human relatives, and the behavior of people who still live by hunting and gathering in some parts of the world. These sources help researchers build a careful picture of how early human groups may have lived. While some details remain uncertain, many scientists agree that cooperation was one of the most important parts of daily life. A family group may have included mothers, fathers, children, grandparents, brothers, sisters, and other close relatives. Sometimes people who were not closely related may also have stayed with the group. Living together helped everyone share the work that had to be done each day. Some members searched for food while others watched the young children. Some searched for useful stones that could be shaped into tools. Others stayed close to a resting place to protect children and older people who could not travel as quickly. Young children needed a great deal of care because they could not walk long distances or protect themselves from dangerous animals. A mother may have carried her baby while looking for food. As children became older, they slowly learned how to walk with the group. Other adults and older children may also have helped care for babies. If one adult became tired or needed to collect food, another trusted member of the group could watch the children. This shared care helped children grow in a safer environment than they would have had if only one adult had been responsible for them all the time. Children learned many important skills simply by staying close to older members of the group. They watched how adults searched for fruit, dug up roots, picked seeds, cracked open nuts, and looked for animals that could be eaten. They also watched how stones were shaped into cutting tools. These lessons did not happen inside schools. Learning came from watching carefully, listening, copying actions and practicing again and again. Adults likely corrected mistakes by showing children the right way to do something. Over time, children became skilled enough to help with simple jobs. Sharing food was another important part of daily life. Some days one person might find more food than another. A family group that shared food had a better chance of making sure everyone ate enough to stay alive. If someone found ripe fruit growing on trees or bushes, that food could be brought back and shared with others. If several people worked together to remove meat from the body of a dead animal, before larger predators returned, everyone in the group could receive part of the food. Meat was valuable because it provided energy and nutrients. It was probably not available every day. Sometimes the group may have found the remains of animals left behind by lions, leopards, or other meat-eating animals. Using simple stone tools, they could cut away pieces of meat that still remained on the bones. They could also break open bones to reach the marrow inside. Marrow contains fat, which provides energy. Once the food was collected, it may have been shared among members of the group instead of being eaten by only the person who found it. Plants were also an important part of their diet. Fruits, leaves, roots, seeds, nuts, and other plant foods could often be found in different places depending on the season. Searching for these foods required knowledge of the land. Older members of the group may have remembered where certain plants grew and when they became ready to eat. This knowledge could be passed to younger members through daily experience. Working together also made it easier to search larger areas for food. A small group could spread out while staying close enough to hear or see one another. If someone discovered a place with plenty of food, the others could be called over. This saved time and allowed more food to be collected before other animals arrived. Stone tools were another reason cooperation became valuable. Making even a simple stone tool required finding suitable rocks and striking them carefully to create a sharp edge. Some people may have become more skilled at making tools than others. They could teach younger members by showing each step slowly. Once a tool was finished, it could be used by different people in the group instead of belonging to only one person. Sharp stone flakes helped cut meat, remove animal skin, scrape plant material, and shape wooden sticks. These tools became important items that improved daily survival. When a tool became dull or broke, another could be made if suitable stone was available. Family groups that knew where to find good stone sources had an advantage because they could replace damaged tools more easily. Danger from wild animals was always present. Lions, leopards, crocodiles, giant hyenas, large snakes, and other predators shared the same land. A single person could easily become a target, especially while searching for food or drinking water. A group had more eyes watching for danger. Someone might notice movement in tall grass or hear warning sounds from birds or other animals. The group could react more quickly by moving away together. At night, staying close together also increased safety, although scientists do not know exactly where Homo habilis slept. They may have rested in places that gave some protection, such as areas with trees, rocky ground, or other natural shelter. Sleeping close to family members meant that unusual sounds could wake several people instead of only one. If danger appeared, the group could move together. Communication helped make cooperation possible. Homo habilis probably did not speak with the rich language used by modern humans, but they almost certainly made sounds, facial expressions, and hand movements that carried meaning. Different calls may have warned of danger, called children closer, or helped gather the group before moving to another place. Pointing with the hand or looking in a certain direction may also have helped others understand where food or danger could be found. Simple communication became useful during many daily activities. While searching for food, one person could alert others after finding ripe fruit or noticing animal tracks. During dangerous moments, quick sounds or gestures could help everyone react without delay. Even simple forms of communication could improve the group's chances of surviving another day. Older members of the family probably held valuable knowledge. They had lived through many dry seasons and rainy seasons. They remembered where water could still be found when rivers became smaller. They knew which plants could be eaten safely and which should be avoided. They understood where dangerous animals often stayed. Younger members who listened carefully gained knowledge that helped them survive. Older people may not always have been the fastest walkers or the strongest workers, but they still had an important place within the family. Their experience could guide the group towards better decisions. Their memories of the land may have helped everyone avoid unnecessary risks. Helping injured members may also have been part of group life. Fossils from different early human species sometimes show healed injuries, suggesting that injured individuals lived long enough for broken bones or other wounds to recover. Recovery would have been difficult without some help from others. Family members may have shared food with injured people and allowed them to rest until they became stronger again. Illness could also affect daily life. Without modern medicine, many diseases were dangerous. Even so, care from family members may have improved the chance that a sick person could survive. Bringing water, sharing food, and protecting someone who was weak required time and effort from others in the group. Pregnant women also benefited from living with supportive family members. Carrying a baby while searching for food required extra energy. Other adults may have helped collect food or watch older children. After a baby was born, the mother likely needed help while recovering and caring for the newborn. Family support made this difficult period easier to manage. As children grew stronger, they slowly took on more responsibility. They might gather small fruits, carry useful sticks, or help watch younger children for short periods. Each new skill made them more useful to the group. Learning happened gradually through daily participation rather than formal teaching. Family groups probably moved often because food and water changed with the seasons. Staying too long in one place could lead to fewer available resources. When the group decided to move, everyone traveled together. Adults carried babies, older children walked beside their parents, and useful stone tools were taken along. The journey itself required cooperation because slower members needed protection and guidance. Finding water remained one of the most important tasks. Rivers, lakes, streams and small pools supported both humans and animals. Many dangerous predators also visited these places. Family groups likely stayed alert whenever they approached water. Some members may have watched for danger, while others collected water or searched nearby for food. The land where Homo habilis lived included open grasslands, patches of woodland, rocky places, and areas close to water. Each environment offered different food sources and different dangers. Working together allowed the group to use many parts of the landscape, instead of depending on only one area. Sometimes food became difficult to find because of changing weather. Dry periods reduced the amount of fresh plants and water. Animals also moved to new places in search of better conditions. During these times, cooperation became even more important. Sharing limited food helped reduce hunger within the group. Experienced members could guide everyone toward places where food and water were still available. Daily life likely followed patterns based on sunlight. The group probably became active after sunrise, spending many hours searching for food, making tools, caring for children, and staying alert for danger. As daylight faded, they would look for a safe place to rest before darkness made travel more dangerous. The success of Homo habilis did not depend only on strength. Much of their survival came from staying together, helping one another through difficult times, sharing knowledge from one generation to the next, caring for children, protecting older members, dividing daily work, sharing food when it was available, remaining alert to danger, and building strong family relationships that supported everyday life. Australopithecus lived in Africa for a very long time. Different kinds of Australopithecus lived during different periods, and they occupied many places across eastern and southern Africa. Their fossils have been found in countries such as Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, and South Africa. These discoveries have helped scientists understand that Australopithecus was one of the important groups that came before members of the Homo family. Homo habilis also lived in Africa. Fossils of Homo habilis have mainly been found in eastern Africa, especially in places where ancient lakes, rivers, and open grasslands once existed. These environments provided food, water, and shelter for many living creatures. The bodies of Australopithecus and Homo habilis shared several features because both belonged to the human family. They walked on two legs, although the way they moved was not exactly the same as people today. Walking on two legs freed their hands so they could carry food, pick up objects, or hold young children while moving from one place to another. Their feet were built to support upright walking, although they still had features that made climbing trees easier than it is for modern humans. Scientists believed that many members of Australopithecus continued to spend part of their time in trees. Trees offered safety from some dangerous animals and provided fruits, leaves, and resting places. Strong arms and curved fingers helped them climb branches. Their shoulders also allowed movements that were useful while climbing. Even though they walked on the ground, climbing remained an important part of their daily life. Homo habilis also had arms that could climb trees when necessary. Fossils show that some features linked with climbing remained present. This suggests that life on the ground and life in trees both played a part in survival. Trees could still provide safety during dangerous situations or places to sleep during the night. At the same time, Homo habilis spent much of its daily life on the ground while searching for food and making tools. One of the most noticeable differences between Australopithecus and Homo habilis was found inside the skull. The brain of Australopithecus was smaller than the brain of Homo habilis. Scientists measure the inside space of fossil skulls to estimate brain size. Fossils show that the brain of Homo habilis became larger than that of Australopithecus. This increase did not happen suddenly. It developed slowly over many generations. A larger brain allowed more complex thinking, better memory, and greater ability to solve problems. These abilities helped Homo habilis deal with changing conditions in the environment. The face of Australopithecus also differed from that of Homo habilis. Australopithecus usually had a face that projected farther forward. The jaw was strong and the teeth were well suited for chewing many kinds of plant foods. Thick enamel on the teeth helped protect them while eating hard seeds, roots, and other tough foods. Homo habilis still had a strong jaw, but the face became slightly less projecting. The teeth also became somewhat smaller. These changes may have been connected to changes in food choices and the growing use of stone tools for cutting food into smaller pieces before eating. The hands of Australopithecus already showed many features that made gripping objects possible. Their fingers could hold branches firmly and also grasp simple objects found on the ground. Homo habilis had hands that became even better suited for careful movements. The thumb worked well with the fingers, allowing a firm and controlled grip. This helped when shaping stone tools or holding objects that required careful handling. Fossil bones from the hand show that these changes supported activities involving greater control. Stone tools are among the most important discoveries linked with Homo habilis. Scientists have found simple stone tools, together with fossils of Homo habilis, at several ancient sites. These tools were made by striking one stone against another until a sharp edge appeared. Sharp flakes could cut meat, remove animal skin, scrape wood, or prepare plant material. Heavy stones could break open bones to reach the rich marrow inside. Marrow contained fat that provided valuable energy. These tools helped Homo habilis gain access to food that was difficult to reach without cutting or breaking. Australopithecus may also have picked up stones or sticks found in nature. Some scientists think they used simple objects to help gather food or defend themselves. However, there is much stronger evidence that Homo habilis regularly shaped stones into tools. The repeated discovery of stone tools together with Homo habilis fossils supports this idea. The ability to shape stones showed planning and careful hand movements. It also required choosing suitable rocks and understanding how striking them in different ways produced different results. The food eaten by Australopithecus included fruits, leaves, roots, seeds, nuts, flowers, and other plant materials. They probably also ate insects, bird eggs, and small animals whenever the opportunity appeared. Their strong jaws and large chewing teeth helped process many tough foods. The exact diet changed according to location, season, and the plants available in different environments. Homo habilis also ate many plant foods. Fruits, roots, leaves, seeds, and nuts remained important parts of daily meals. Meat became a larger part of the diet than it had been for earlier ancestors. Homo habilis sometimes obtained meat from animals that had already died. Large predators often left pieces of meat attached to bones after feeding. Homo habilis could use stone tools to remove these remaining pieces and break open bones for marrow. There is also evidence suggesting that Homo habilis may have hunted small animals when possible. Hunting small animals required attention, planning, and cooperation among members of a group. Life in Africa during the time of Australopithecus and Homo habilis included many dangers. Large cats, crocodiles, giant birds, snakes, and other predators lived in the same environments. Early humans had no metal weapons, no shelters built from strong materials, and no farming. Every day involved searching for food while avoiding danger. Staying together in groups increased safety. More eyes could watch for predators while others searched for food. Adults could protect young children, and warning sounds could alert everyone when danger appeared. Australopithecus probably lived in family groups where adults cared for young members. Mothers looked after babies for several years because young children needed protection while growing. Older children likely learned by watching adults gather food, climb trees, and avoid dangerous animals. Learning mainly happened through observation and repeated practice. Homo habilis also depended on family groups. Young children watched adults shape stone tools, prepare food, and move safely across the landscape. Skills improved through experience. A child who watched adults strike stones together many times could slowly learn how to make simple cutting tools. Knowledge passed from one generation to another helped groups survive. Scientists study fossil teeth to learn about growth and development. Teeth preserve well because they are harder than most bones. The pattern of tooth growth provides clues about childhood. Australopithecus children may have grown faster than modern human children. Homo habilis also probably reached adulthood faster than people today. Even so, some evidence suggests that childhood may have become slightly longer than in earlier ancestors. A longer period of growth gave young individuals more time to learn important survival skills before becoming adults. The skeleton of Australopithecus shows that body size remained fairly small. Males often grew larger than females. Body size could vary among different species of Australopithecus living in different places. Homo habilis also remained relatively small by modern human standards. Adults stood a little taller on average than many Australopithecus individuals, although size still varied between different people. Their lighter bodies allowed movement across open ground while searching for food. Their legs supported upright walking, although they were shorter than those of modern humans. Walking long distances required energy, so groups probably planned daily movements around the location of water, food, and shelter. Rivers and lakes attracted animals, making these places useful for finding food as well as fresh water. These same places also attracted predators, so careful attention remained necessary. Scientists continue to study fossil skulls to understand thinking abilities. Brain size alone does not explain intelligence, but it provides useful information when combined with other evidence. The increase in brain size seen in Homo habilis suggests that changes were taking place inside the brain as well as outside the body. Better memory, improved planning, and greater ability to solve problems may have helped individuals respond to changing weather, locate food, and use tools more effectively. Communication also likely became more developed. Australopithecus probably used calls, facial expressions, body movements, and simple sounds to communicate with one another. These forms of communication helped warn about danger, keep groups together, and support cooperation during daily activities. Homo habilis may have developed slightly more complex forms of communication, although scientists cannot know exactly what sounds they used because spoken language does not leave fossils. Changes in the brain and the structure of the mouth suggest that communication abilities continued to develop over time. Fossil discoveries continue to improve our understanding of both Australopithecus and Homo habilis. Every new discovery adds information that helps answer old questions while creating new ones. Some fossils show features usually linked with Australopithecus, while others display features associated with Homo habilis. This mixture reminds scientists that human development happened gradually across many generations rather than through sudden changes. Some experts continue to discuss exactly where Homo habilis fits within the human family tree. Certain fossils show features that appear close to Australopithecus, while others appear closer to later members of the Homo family. These discussions continue because fossils are often incomplete. A single jaw, part of a skull, or a few bones cannot always provide every answer. Scientists carefully study each discovery using modern technology to understand where it belongs. Ancient campsites provide additional information. Stone tools, broken animal bones, and remains of plants help researchers understand daily activities. Marks left on bones by stone tools show where meat was cut away. Broken bones reveal attempts to reach the marrow inside. Burn marks are generally not linked with the earliest Homo habilis sites, suggesting that regular control of fire had not yet become part of everyday life. Food gathering required knowledge of the environment. Both Australopithecus and Homo habilis needed to know where fruits ripened, where roots could be dug, and where water remained available during dry seasons. Adults passed this knowledge to younger members through daily experience. Remembering the location of useful plants and safe paths increased the chances of finding enough food throughout the year. The climate changed many times during the periods when these early humans lived. Some years brought wetter conditions with more plants growing across the land. Other periods became drier, reducing the amount of available food. Animals moved from place to place in search of fresh grass and water. Early humans also adjusted their movements to follow changing conditions. Flexibility helped them continue finding food despite changes in the environment.